Welcome to Day in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone. There's a lot of exciting things happening across the city that we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, I did want to remind you that in my community outreach role, I'm available in City Hall most days, but I also occasionally do some office hours offsite just because it's kind of fun. So I have office hours coming up on February 7th from 9 to 10:30 at Studio Cafe. Gives me a good excuse to have a scone. But if you have a question, you have an idea you want to share, need some help with something, come by, say hello. I hope to see you there. In the meantime, we're going to be talking about a few things that are happening across the city. The first up today, we do have Mayor Concannon joining us, but we're going to start today with city engineering. Welcome, Jay.
Happy to be here, Samantha. How are you today?
Excellent. We were talking before we started recording that the sun is shining a little bit longer every day. And I love it.
Wonderful thing.
So I want to talk a little bit about most of our community is familiar with Woburn's past in our history in our water, which means we're one of the most well-monitored water systems probably of anywhere. And part of our process is for the EPA to help monitor a couple of old sites. Just to be really clear up front, these are not used as a water source any longer, so no one need worry about that. But there are two sites that are still sort of in monitoring and cleanup mode. Can you remind us where they're located?
Sure. The two areas that EPA has been working on since about 1985 they're known as Operable Unit 1, which is everything along Hallsbrook from Mishwam Road going north all the way up to almost to Wilmington. And that they've cleaned up, my God, when I first got here in 1999, we were doing partnering meetings with the EPA and Joe LeMay. They were capping the hide pile. They were capping all of the where we see places like Raytheon, Target, all of the new buildings along Presidential Way. Those were all a result of the initial cleanup that EPA had been working on for some 15 years. And they've turned all that land back into tax roll land where it's actually inhabitable. There's no risk of being there. And people work there on a daily basis. So every 5 years, they have to report upon what is the condition of all the work that they did. So they actually maintain a building. If you're coming out of the RTC through the driveway that goes out to Presidential Way, and you look to your left near Raytheon, you'll see a building up on the hill. That's the EPA building that's been there since the late 1980s. They have a presence there, and they drive around the area almost daily. The other area that they're looking at is called Operable Unit 2, and this is the average owner from Mishwam Road all the way down to Salem Street. And it incorporated the old Wells G&H and the Cranberry Bogs. And all of those sites, they've removed sediment, they've constructed walking trails, they capped the wells, and other cleanup, and they maintain monitoring facilities through the entire site. So again, every 5 years they go through and they report upon the condition of everything that's out there, remedial actions that they've taken where somebody might have been digging without authorization, and what they did to fix it. So we get this report every 5 years, and it's tremendously comprehensive, rather boring to read unless you're trying to go to sleep. But
I agree with you. I took a scan, look through it in preparation for today. And first of all, I'm kind of in awe on how much resource the EPA actually has contributed to our community. This would have been very challenging for us to do on our own, but also it was a lot to read. So thank you for summarizing.
Well, they literally spent hundreds of millions of dollars back in the 80s and 90s putting all these caps and mitigative measures in there. And you've probably heard the name Joe LeMay. Now, we used to partner meetings with Joe LeMay for the Commerce Way Interchange, for the Anderson Regional Transportation Center, and all the private development that was up there. He's been working on that cap or the OU1 and OU2 going back to 1985. So he's inherently familiar with the facilities up there. Great guy, too.
That's awesome. Now, we were at our 5 year, they just published that 5 year report, as you mentioned. You know, it is very long and very extensive, and it's publicly available for anybody who does want to read it and is fascinated with it. But at a high level, what did that report tell us?
That report tells us that everything is working the way it was intended, that the treatment facilities that they have just south of the Anderson Transportation Center on Hallsbrook is working quite well, removing ammonia, um, and that there are no problems. Essentially, everything that was proposed and constructed is functioning properly. And they'll do this again another 5 years.
That's wonderful. Now, I guess I didn't realize that they really had such an ongoing and persistent presence at those areas. So that's fascinating to know and wonderful to know. It's reassuring to know that they're doing this on an ongoing, regular basis. Not like they come out at a 5 year period, do an assessment, and go, but that they've actually been hanging out here.
Boots on the ground.
Uh,
And someday when it gets a little bit warmer, let me know. We'll put you in the engineering van and I'll take you out to all the facilities the EPA maintains and operates in the city.
Oh, I would love it. That would be
Yep.
really fun. I'm also a little jealous, not related to the EPA facilities, but I know we have the wonderful steam engine that used to run the Horn Pond pumping station, and I didn't get to go when it was open. I wasn't safe to be around other people, but next time it's demonstrated, I'm going to be there.
Oh, happy to have you. And anybody else. I mean, it's an amazing piece of equipment that the city actually maintained long past when it stopped working in 1928. And it's a joy to see this thing run. Really is. It's kind of fun.
It, this is excellent. Thank you so much, Jay, for the update. We really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Have a great day.
Excellent. You too. So
Bye.
next up, we're going to talk to two young folks who have an exciting state championship competition they're going to. Welcome, Noah and Paris.
Hi,
Hi,
thank
thank
you
you for
so
having
much
us.
for having us.
I'm really excited to have you here. And you guys are participating and have been participating in DECA. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the acronym correctly. I hope so. Paris, why don't we start with you? Tell us a little bit about what DECA is.
So, DECA is a club that prepares high schoolers and students for the future business world. Um, there's different categories. There's like accounting, marketing, finance, hospitality. I personally do hospitality, and students can do it solo if you're a strong public speaker and you work well on yourself. You can do that, or you can do it with a partner, which is what I do. Because then you can bounce ideas off of another person and kind of work to each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so the competition can be you have like 30 minutes to prepare. You're given like a scenario, you're given roles that you pretend you are. You pretend you're like a business person, talking to your higher up, or you can have a prepare ahead where you get the information well in advance and then you have to make like a little slideshow.
That sounds really fun and exciting. When I was in high school, I did something called impromptu speaking. And I'd walk in a room and I'd be given an envelope and I would be giving a subject or a word, and I'd have to talk to 3 to 5 minutes on it. And I had no ability to prepare for it in advance. It was sort of inherent. And what you're doing sounds even more fun than what I was doing because you're talking about real business scenarios. Noah, tell us a little bit about the competition that you guys have, one entry into.
So we've had a big jump. So 5 last year qualified for the state competition and now we are looking at 31 going to states, which is like around a 600% increase. So my role as vice president of competition, there's a lot of things that go into it, which is the role play and the testing. And like Paris said, there's different types of role play. So I personally had the prepare head, and here's one of my posters I made with the phone because I was supposed to be helping a social media local retail boutique with a social media advertising and promoting and how to incorporate that into the sales process, and try to say I got first place in that competition. And we will and then around March, all 31 students will compete again at the state competition, which is which is actually in Boston, and you stay 3 nights, 2 nights, 3 days, and compete with kids all around the state. And the top 6 qualify to internationals, which will be in California this year. So fingers crossed for that. But it's honestly, it's a great experience. And if any high schoolers are listening, we 100% recommend it, because there's so much you could learn from doing the competition.
No, I'm not going to have you list 31 people's names because that's a little bit of a long list, which is fantastic. It means lots of people are involved, and I think that's wonderful. Can you share a little bit about the categories that people are competing in?
100%. So, for example, mine, I was professional selling, which is what Paris said, prepare ahead. And that is just, you're trying to sell a project, like think consultants, and you bring in a contract, you have them sign it. You are very developed into your role play. And then with the team ones, you have last year I was with the team, and it was like marketing, management, team decision making. So that's when you take more marketing approach, but you also have like financial, like literacy, where you could be like a financial advisor, and you're speaking with a client. So either you could be the higher up, or you could be speaking to a higher up, or you could be presenting to an equal, trying to sell something. There's so many different ways that it's approached, and that's what makes it like super interesting.
I love it. Paris, do you know can you remember what DECA stands for? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I'm curious.
I believe, I can't exactly remember what the C is, but I think it's Distributive Education something America. I do not know what this stands for.
I think Distributive Education Clubs of America. I think,
Yes, that is it.
Good teamwork there, guys. I appreciate that. Paris, I know that you guys have some costs to go and are doing some fundraising. Tell us a little bit about how we as a community can support this effort.
So yeah, we have started fundraising. We sold pizza and pretzels to like our family members, community members we knew. We're currently planning a bake sale. So we're working on fundraising, but states in total is going to be about like $22,000 for the club. And we've been working hard, but no amount of bake sale can completely cover that. So we would really like for help from community members. If any community members are watching this, hearing about DECA, saying, I love that, that's so amazing, I want to support that, they can email our advisor, Miss Keenan. Her email is jkeenan@woburnps.com. Or if they want to send a check directly to the high school, they can write a check, Woburn Memorial High School, and put Woburn DECA in the memo.
That's fantastic. This is for all the local businesses, some of your future workforce here. So it'll be a great opportunity to support them. Paris and Noah, thank you so much for joining us. I wish you and everyone who's competing great success. We can't wait. You'll have to send us a note afterwards and let us know how it went.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to switch gears away from competition to getting messy in a different way. Jessie and Adele are here to talk about an exciting and fun kids craft event that's coming up.
Yes, hi, nice to meet you.
Thanks for joining us, Adele. I'm really glad that you're here. I know we have the Kid Craft event that's happening up at Studio Cafe. Tell us, Adele, about the time that's going to be happening in the day.
It's going to be this coming Saturday, February 10th, which also is actually Chinese New Year's. So it was just a great idea that we, and also it was multicultural. So we're going to be discussing different Afro-American. I think we got a mosaic for some other culture, Arabic culture, I think it was a Muslim culture. And then we also have someone doing, I think, a Korean art. And then we're also going to do some kind of thing that just describes culture in general with a mural. I think that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be at the Studio Cafe, which is one of my favorite places. I go there all the time to eat and drink and know the people there. And the couple that runs the place is just amazing. and you probably heard of them.
They're wonderful, and it is a wonderful place. I get lots of snacks there. It's why one of my first office hours there. I'm also convenient from City Hall, so dangerously too close actually for my waistline. But I'm glad to be going. Adele, tell me a little bit about. I know because it coincides with Chinese New Year's, which is kind of fun and exciting. It's the year of the dragon. Will there be a dragon craft of some kind?
Yep, just like this. They're gonna
Oh, I
color
love it.
They're gonna color this, and I actually have a book that I'm gonna bring in. It talks a little bit about Chinese New Year's. Let me see if I can hold it up. You can see it.
Oh, that's excellent.
And it does have a little bit about the lion dance that they do. They go around in China and in Taiwan, they go around to the different neighborhoods and the businesses and try to the lion dances around, and there's these people playing the drums, and then they try to give. It's supposed to represent prosperity and wealth for the businesses around them. That's one of the big things they do. Also, the dragon dance is very popular too. This book actually has cute pictures, a horoscope.
Hey, you never know. You might get some folks motivated to get a little dance going on in the studio while they're crafting. Thank you for sharing about that craft, Jessie. I know that there's Adele had mentioned lots of different crafts that will be happening. Kind of what age group is this geared towards, and will all the supplies be available for everyone?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really geared towards, preschool age till around 12, but open to everybody. Siblings, of course, are welcome. One thing to note, though, if your kid is under 12, we do ask that parents stay with the child just for supervision purposes and safety. And I don't know if we mentioned the time, but it's from 2:30 to 4:30. And all the supplies will be available. We've actually ordered them. We'll be sorting them this week. We're really excited about that. And something else to note, too, along with the event, we're going to have a sensory friendly space as well for those friends that might just need something a little bit quieter for their needs. And so that'll be in Studio Cafe still, and we'll be doing all the same things, just a little bit quieter area for them. And Studio Cafe also will be having treats available for sale, as well as kid-friendly beverages. And the event itself is free. If you wanted additional food or beverage, that would be on your own dollar.
And that's great.
Yeah, it's fun. And it's we have a really great board of people that help plan this. And some of them are art teachers, which is wonderful. And Danielle, one of the owners of Studio, being one of them. So we have some very crafty minds that help put these things together. And the kids are really excited about it. I think at least my kids are. I told them and they're jazzed. So
That sounds really fun. And this is the kind of thing that somebody can kind of come and go as the time allows for them. So for anyone, correct me if I'm wrong, anyone who might not be able to make it right at the beginning shouldn't feel like they shouldn't come, right? It's sort of a little unstructured, try out, have some fun, do the things you want to, come as long as you can, right?
Absolutely. It's definitely a flow, and we're going to have stations set up. So each table area will have a different craft. So if a kid wants to do that craft, great. If the kid does not, fine, move on to the next one. And we'll have one kind of communal craft that Adele had touched on, and that's going to be kind of a vision of what your community looks like. And we're going to put this on a large mural, and then the mural will be hung inside a Studio Cafe. So family that maybe wasn't able to come can then go get a delicious beverage, a really good scone, like you mentioned, and also see the craft that their family member put together.
Adele and Jessie, thank you both for joining me today and talking a little bit about what looks to be a really fun day for people to come out and check this out and do art together, which is always a good time. Thank you to both of you for all the hard work that goes into planning this, and for everyone else who's also been involved. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Samantha.
Thank you.
So next up, we usually start with Mayor Concannon. We're going to round out the show today. Welcome, Mike.
Hi, Samantha. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad that you're here. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I know I saw you on Sunday at the Council of Social Concern telethon,
Yes.
which was the first time I'd actually been in person. I'd seen some of it in the past, so it was kind of fun to see everyone. You've been going for a number of years. How many times have you been there?
Well, I've probably been there a dozen times, I'd say. Might have missed one or two when I was on the council. Went a couple of times, I think, as president of the Lions Club, but it's a great community event. And we're always happy to support the efforts of the Council of Social Concern. They do so much for our community. They're one of the pillars that provide the services that make sure that there's a safety net here in town. So I can't say enough good things about them. And when I got their invitation, I was more than happy to join them.
Yeah, I have referred many people to them in the few weeks that I've been in the role in community outreach, and they're always wonderful and supportive and helpful to people. So I hope lots of people donated. I'm not sure what the final numbers were yet, but hopefully we'll hear that soon.
Yeah, I hadn't heard the final numbers. I know that there was a significant donation right after mine. The Flaherty family, John and Kathy stepped up. I think Art Duffy presented it on behalf of the family. They were away, but incredibly generous donation, as they often are, to our community. And I know it's much appreciated. So I haven't heard the final number, but I know that was a big number.
Yeah, there was a couple of big donations from folks, which I'm sure the council will announce and share more of for those who might have missed it. And there's still time to always donate. So if anybody wasn't able to participate on Sunday, there have running donations available on the website, and you can select telethon to give credit to that day. But I know they appreciate everything. So thank you for your support of them. I know they appreciated it. I want to switch gears a little bit. There was some inbound questions that came about traffic. So people were talking about speeding and running lights and all the things that unfortunately happen in our city. And I think, some of the discussion is a little bit of a false impression about how active our traffic division is. And so I thought we could talk a little bit about what they do and actually how many citations maybe we were given out last year.
Sure. Traffic is one of the major concerns here in our community. We're located at a very convenient spot. A lot of people want to be here, businesses, people want to live here. So with that, you're going to get some traffic, and we have our share. I will say I was speaking with Chief Rufo from the police department this morning in our weekly meeting and chatted a little bit about this. And I was actually surprised at the number of violations that Woburn Police Department does issue. Last year alone, it was 3,200 plus moving violations. In the month of January that just concluded, 400 violations in that month alone, more than I would have expected. To be clear, many of those are warnings. They're not all, fine violations. But we do have a very active police department, not just the traffic division, but the patrols themselves are obviously encouraged to keep their eyes out for any violations. The main goal, of course, is to keep traffic flowing at a reasonable and safe speed so people can get where they're coming and going, but in a safe way. It's the goal of every interaction is to try to educate and inform and maybe correct some of the behavior going forward so that, we become a safer community. So it's not always the goal that somebody has to get a high dollar ticket. So a lot of those violations, they're warnings in the hope that the behavior will be corrected and the problem will be reduced. But as I say, it's not just the traffic division. They do a great job, but it's also the patrol officers in each of the sector cars that are out there enforcing those laws as well. As I've said before, Woburn PD is second to none, and they do great work to keep our community safe.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, I know that occasionally there'll be an area, street, or neighborhood that has a particular concern that there's an unusual amount of speeding or an unusual number of erratic driving or whatever might be happening. They always can contact the non-emergency line at the police department and request somebody to come out and check things out. And I know they do that regularly.
Yes, I found them to be very responsive. They're quick response. If there's an issue, they're there the next day, oftentimes trying to, as I say, trying to mold and shape the behavior and maybe calm the traffic down in an area. But I've always found them to be very responsive and an integral part of our community.
Yeah. Well, excellent. I'm going to switch gears and talk about schools a little bit. So we've talked in the past that we all know that there's a school feasibility study that was done to talk about our infrastructure and what we need to do to prepare for ourselves for the future and current needs. And there is a building committee you've mentioned to us that is being erected. That may be too much of a building pun there, but is coming together. Tell us a little bit about who's on that committee today, and then we'll talk a little bit about how parents can get involved.
Sure. So as you said, this feasibility study was commissioned through the school department to get a thorough analysis of the status of our buildings and our grounds and our facilities and our needs as we move forward. So since the school committee has commissioned the study, they are the ones responsible for staffing this committee that will digest and potentially implement the findings of that study. I've had several meetings with the school committee chairman, Andrew Lipsett, as well as the city council president, Jeff Dillon. And we've kicked around what we think the makeup of that committee should look like. I know the school committee has had formal meetings on it as well. Just over the weekend, I received an invitation from the school committee chairman to think about who I might want to appoint to that committee. So to your point, that is being formed as we speak. I think you're likely to see school committee representation, city council representation, obviously city hall, mayor's office. I think you'll see parents, teachers, union members, business folks in town. I think you'll see a wide range of people represented on that committee. And to your point, I think there's a post on the school department website seeking parental involvement. I think they're looking to get that committee up and running in the next couple of weeks. So they're looking for a quick turnaround on those volunteers. So I look forward to that committee getting to work and, refining the information that we've been given and trying to make sense of it going forward so we can figure out a way to implement many of the solutions that they've presented to us.
Yeah, thank you. And Jen will put the URL up for the Google form for any parents who were involved. I think the deadline is the 12th to apply for that position. The one thing I will say for the URL is not friendly to be in writing. So we're going to put it on the screen, but you're probably not going to be able to use that in a meaningful way. So we'll make sure to put it in the show notes on the YouTube channel and share that in other places. And lots of folks who are on the school committee, we've been sharing it as well. But if you have any trouble finding it, and this is the only way, definitely drop me a note and we'll get that corrected for you and make sure to send you a link, because it's lots of random letters and things. Yes. So
incredibly long URL.
Yeah, that's it's wonderful to have a tool like Google Forms, but it doesn't always make it easy to find. So I also, one of the things you've been very busy at, which I think we as a community appreciate, is sort of filling a lot of the open board seats that we had available to us. And if anyone has looked at the city council agenda for this week, they'll see a lot of names that are represented there. And we don't need to go through that full list. I'd encourage people to go and either look at the agenda or come to city hall meeting or whatever. But what happens next? So you've recommended a number of people and they are on the agenda for the meeting. What happens now?
So there's two ways this happens. One is what you've seen in the city council agenda, where the charter and or the ordinances in our city requires city council confirmation of several of my appointments. So the process would be that I cast a wide net and try to solicit as many folks who are interested in serving as possible. Usually have a couple of interviews with them, determine their level of interest and the fit for the position. And then when I've settled on somebody, I officially send the name to the city council for their confirmation. Usually it's read aloud at their first meeting, and then they send it to what's known as their personnel subcommittee, where they'll go through the process of interviewing the people I've sent down. They basically ask them why they're interested, why they think they'd be a good fit, what they think they have to offer. They may ask them what they think some of the pending issues are for the commission that they're interested in. And then at the end of that, there's a vote in the subcommittee to recommend to the full council that person be confirmed. And then once it gets back to the next council meeting, the full council will vote on it. And after that, I sign the paperwork, they get sworn in and they get to work.
That's excellent. Thank you for stepping through that process for us. The last thing
there are some instances where no council confirmation is required. Obviously, the process moves a little bit quicker then. We've already had one of those. We were able to seat the newest member of the Conservation Commission, Jim Joyce, a week and a half ago, and he's doing a great job already. So, as I say, some instances there's council confirmation, others there aren't. But either way, we try to speed the process along to get these folks seated as soon as we can.
Great. And I love how many people have stepped up to volunteer to serve in this way. It is a lot of work. So we're certainly grateful for that. The last thing I wanted to talk with you about today is there will be a notice that's going out around our PFAS. It's something we've talked a lot about. Our quarterly numbers are in, and everyone who's watched the show regularly knows this is a highly regulated process. And those notifications are definitely set. And there'll be a notice that's going out this next week, I guess. Actually, I think they go in the mail on the 10th, I believe. Right. But some of that information is available on our website today. And we're slightly above the required maximum, which we've been in before. So I just want to give you a chance to just sort of mention to folks, remind them what that really means. And then I want to talk a little bit about our long-term plans.
Sure. So as we've discussed before, PFAS, that's the excuse me, the chemical term for the forever chemicals, excuse me, that we're all familiar with. They're all around us. They're in everything in our environment. Why it's become news as of late is that the acceptable standards dropped from 70 parts per trillion down to 20 parts per trillion, which has been explained to me as the equivalent of an eyedropper full into 20 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So we're talking about a really small amount, but nonetheless, because the standard is now 20 parts per trillion, it puts many communities like Woburn in a situation where we occasionally bump up above that 20. And that's what happened in our fourth quarter of 2023. Our average for that quarter was 21 parts per trillion, just slightly above the 20. It is worth noting that the average PFAS parts per trillion since we began testing almost 5 years ago is 17.9 parts per trillion. So on average, we are below the acceptable level. So we're in a good position, but because we do the testing quarterly and because this last quarter was 21, we are required, and we're more than happy to send out notifications to our residents to keep them informed and let them know we're on top of this situation. So that's why the end of this week, beginning of next week, they'll start to get notices advising them that the PFAS level is 21 parts per trillion as of the last testing, the last quarter. Some more good news that the first test, or the results of the test in January, the first month of this year, it's actually 13.5 parts per trillion, so well below the 20. So there's no cause for alarm, but in the interest of full transparency, we want to share with the residents exactly where we stand, so that they're fully advised and they can feel comfortable that they understand where we're at.
One of the things that we know we're investing in so that we can eliminate the bouncing up and down that we do, even as little as it is, but to get to a point where we're making a significant investment in a new water treatment plant, and that will be presented with an update at City Council. So we don't need to go into a lot of details about it, but just in general, how are you feeling about that project and the progress that we're making there?
Well, that's a good question. As you said, we are presenting tomorrow night at the City Council meeting a quarterly update. We have our consultant from CDM, Carol Rigo is her name. She does a great job. She's able to take a lot of these chemical formulas and explain in layman's terms exactly what's going on. Carol's a wonderful asset to our team. So we'll be giving that update to the City Council tomorrow night. And as you say, we are moving along with our plans to deal with this issue. We have the current measures still in place. We have the water filling station up at the senior center. We're offering rebates on the water bills. We're doing a number of things. We're obviously keeping the public informed as to where we're at each step of the way. But to your point, the biggest step that we're taking is building another water treatment component down at Pond. So the folks who walk the pond or are familiar with it, they know that we have a water treatment complex. Imagine there'll be another smaller building added to that complex. Its main goal will be to be that filter for the PFAS chemicals, and that treatment plan is in the works as we speak. We have been working on the permitting, the design, all of that is well on schedule. And I think what you'll see is the latest update, if you happen to watch the council meeting, the latest update is that we've had technical reviews as of late, and we are on track, assuming things continue to go as well as they are, to start to see some real progress down there. I think we expect to be able to put this contract for this treatment plant out to bid somewhere this late winter, early spring, awarding the construction contract by the end of this fiscal year, end of June. And then perhaps you'll see construction as soon as this summer, this fall. It'll take a little while. It'll probably take us 18 months or up to 2 years total to have this thing fully up and running. But so far, everything is going as expected. No hurdles, no obstacles. And again, I'd like to thank not only our consultant, Carol Rigo from CDM, but our own DPW engineering and water department for the great work they're doing to get us up to speed. Woburn is well on track to being in compliance. Compare our efforts up against any community, and we compare favorably. So the residents should feel confident that we're doing the right thing at the right time, in the right way, with the right people. So this will be on track, up and running, hopefully, by the end of 25, early 26.
Excellent. Thank you for that update. I appreciate it. And one of our producers sent me a little note letting me know that the telethon total was $23,570. So over the 20,000 goal, which is fantastic to hear. That's excellent. That's great news. Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Mike. And as always, Woburn, continue to take good care of each other.